Welcome to the new podcast, In the Garden with Susan. I'm your host, Susan Ladner. I will aim to bring you top quality information on how to save open pollinated seeds, grow a garden, and preserve what you grow. Every Wednesday, I'll be sharing practical tips and techniques to help you on your journey to food security. Join me as I preserve the abundance of produce that my garden provides. Learn new ways of putting food away for the winter and some old ways that are from another century. You can find this podcast on Shopify and at my website. Come on, let's go wander down to the garden and awaken the dreams, history, and love that is held inside every seed. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In the Garden with Susan. And I'm not sure what is happening. I keep losing a day every week. I thought today was Wednesday. And this morning I went to look at the weather because they keep saying rain is coming, and rain has not been really hitting. Like there's just like a little spitting. And I don't know about your guys' gardens. I know some of my friends have had lots of rain this year. Here in BC, we haven't had rain for weeks. And my garden is dry. Like even some of the Jerusalem artichokes the other day were starting to droop. And I just physically, I can't water everything. I mean, I'm watering some things. Of course, I need to keep alive, but the tomatoes aren't being watered. So my dry farming tomatoes look way better than the other tomatoes. And the potatoes, some of them are just, I think they're gone. They're not doing well anymore. And I just learned that fava beans like to have moist soil all the time. And the one variety is not doing well because I hadn't been watering them. And so, yeah, it's been quite a week. And so I thought it was Wednesday and it was Thursday, but luckily we have had some rain this afternoon, this evening. And I hope that, I haven't been down to check out the rain gauge to see how much we got, but we actually really still need more. But anyway, so here we are. Finally, I'm getting this done now. And then I had this ready to go this morning, and I got a little bit sidetracked with the Egyptian walking onions. And so I started cutting them off the main green onion, and there's the larger size bulbs, and then there's the bulbettes. And, I got sidetracked, and then next thing you know, I was putting them on the website, and I actually even put them on Etsy. I don't know how I feel about Etsy yet. I'm not too sure, but anyway, I'm trying. I'm putting another thing on there. We'll see how that goes. But today, we're continuing on our talk about edible flowers. And so I have the first one I want to start with. It's actually kind of surprising to me. I have a few of these varieties growing in my garden, and I keep, chopping some of the varieties down because I'm only letting one variety go to flower at a time. And I didn't think it would take this long for the lemonade. But I had to get rid of, some of the plants were not producing lemonade, and I did get them from a seed trade. So I don't know if it's just kickbacks that this is a new variety. I really don't know too much about this, but it's the Cosmos. And so I've really been, into the Cosmos a lot. And, just making sure some of them don't bloom. And I'm so excited. I have quite a few varieties growing out there. And some of them I don't even know what they look like yet because I have to keep chopping them down. But anyway, and I did not even know they were edible. So the Cosmos are known for their vibrant and attractive blooms, making them popular in gardens. And besides their ornamental value, Cosmo flowers are also edible, and they can be used in various culinary applications. And so they have a mild, slightly floral flavor, and this makes them suitable for a variety of dishes without overpowering the other ingredients. And they come in a range of colors, including pink, white, orange, and red, adding visual appeal to culinary creations. And so some of the things you can do with them, you can put them into salads. You can add them to mixed greens, cherry tomatoes, cucumber, and a vinaigrette. You can also use them as a garnish on cakes, desserts, soups, or main dishes. And their bright colors add an attractive touch to any plate. And you can also put them with infused drinks. And so what you can do is you can add Cosmos flowers to a pitcher of water with lemon slices and let it infuse for a few hours and sweeten with honey if desired. And this makes a refreshing and visually appealing drink. And that sounds amazing. And you can also make Cosmos flower sugar, and you just layer the fresh Cosmos flowers with granulated sugar in a jar, seal, and let infuse for a week. And you can use the infused sugar in baking or to sweeten teas, and also as an herbal tea. And you can steep a handful of fresh or dried Cosmos flowers in hot water for 10 to 15 minutes and strain and sweeten with honey if desired. And so to preserve them, you can dry them, and you just dry them in a cool, dark place with good airflow. And once they're dried, you store them in an airtight container. And dried flowers can be used for tea or as decorative elements in dishes. And you can also press them. And you can just press the Cosmos flowers between the pages of a heavy book or use a flower press. And once pressed and dried, they can be used to decorate cakes and other desserts. And so just some notes and precautions is that Cosmos flowers are best used in moderation to avoid overpowering dishes. And you want to make sure that you have the correct identification of Cosmos flowers before consumption, because some plants may look similar, but they're not edible. And of course, as always, only consume the Cosmos flowers that have been grown without the use of pesticides or other chemicals. And yeah, so that was something that kind of surprised me. I looked that up because I've been thinking about the flowers I see every day in my garden, and I just thought, I'm the Cosmos, and I thought there's no way they're edible. And yeah, they are. So some of the recipes I found, of course, there's the tea, and I found a recipe for a Cosmos cinnamon tea. And you take the Cosmos petals, cinnamon sticks or powder, water, fresh lime, and honey. And you boil 2 cups of water, add 2 to 3 cinnamon sticks or half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder, add 7 to 8 Cosmos petals, and simmer for 3 to 4 minutes until the water changes color. Then pour the tea into a cup, add a squeeze of lime and a drizzle of honey, and stir. And that sounds interesting. And that the source of this recipe came from Plants Craze. And then there's another recipe that also came from there, and it's Cosmos salad with citrus dressing. And you mix 2 cups of salad greens with 1 cup of Cosmos petals, cucumber slices, and orange segments in a bowl. Whisk together 2 tablespoons of orange juice, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of honey, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil with salt and pepper for the dressing. And you drizzle that over the salad and toss. And you can garnish with fresh mint leaves and roasted croutons. And then the Cosmos sugar flower, you just layer the Cosmos petals in a jar with granulated sugar. And we already talked about that one. And then there's also the infused Cosmos vinegar. And you place fresh Cosmos petals in a jar, cover with white wine vinegar, and let infuse for a few weeks. Strain and use the vinegar in dressings and marinades. And so you can, and just another note, you can also freeze the Cosmos petals in ice cubes for a decorative touch to drinks. However, maybe you just, take the petals and just, layer them in there because the petals can be quite big. And so the flavor differences among varieties, there is a little bit of a difference. Some are slightly bitter with an earthy flavor. And then there's the King Salad Cosmos. And this variety has an appealing flavor and aroma, often compared to a mild floral tea. And it's popular in South Asian cuisine for its leaves and flowers. So that's an interesting variety to look for, the King's Salad. So there, sorry, excuse me. There's some of the other varieties are the Bright Lights mix. And I'm excited because I'm growing this one. And this variety is known for its vibrant mix of yellow, orange, and red flowers. And it is popular for adding a splash of color to gardens. But I didn't get any of the flavor on that. And then we also have the Cosmic Orange. And this one is great for attracting pollinators like bees and butterflies. And then there's a Klondike mix, which produces semi-double flowers in shades of yellow, orange, and red. And this variety is taller and ideal for borders and cutting gardens. And then there is the Sunset. And it's known for its striking golden yellow flowers with a slightly deeper center, creating a sunset effect. And then the King's Salad variety is widely grown in Southeast Asia for its edible leaves and flowers. And I guess it has a mild, slightly citrusy flavor. And this plant, it prefers tropical climates, but it can be grown in warm, temperate zones. So I'm not sure if we could grow it here. So now the next flower is the Phlox. And I used to think the Phlox was my favorite flower. Like, I love Phlox. And it has vibrant and abundant blooms. And it is a favorite among gardeners for its ornamental value. And what most people aren't aware of is that certain species of Phlox have edible flowers. And so the culinary uses, the flowers of the Phlox are mildly spicy, somewhat the same as radish. And it can be used in salads to add a burst of color and a slight peppery flavor. It can be used as a garnish to decorate cakes, desserts, and cocktails. It can be used as an infusion to infuse water and also tea, and also in soup. The bright petals can be stirred into soups just before serving for added color and a hint of spice. And so, yeah, the basic thing, same as most other flowers. You can throw them in salad. You can put some of the petals in a pitcher with water and slices of lemon or cucumber for a delicately flavored beverage. And you can make ice cubes. And so for preserving them, the Phlox flowers can be dried by hanging them upside down in a dry, ventilated space, and then put them in an airtight container for storage. And you can also freeze them. And so I wanted to know about the taste differences with varieties. And I found that Phlox flowers generally have a slightly spicy taste, but the intensity can slightly vary between species and cultivars. And so because not all Phlox species are edible, it's essential to ensure the variety is safe for consumption before using them in dishes. And the common garden phlox, Phlox paniculata, and I might be saying that wrong, but this one is often cited for its edible use. And I went on a little bit last week when I looked up this flower. I was searching and searching, and then I just found I was looking in seed catalogs, well, online seed catalogs, and looking at all these flowers, and I was like, this is not the time of year. It felt weird in the middle of summer looking in the seed catalogs. And so I ended up abandoning my search, because really, what am I doing ordering seeds, at the end of July? But that'll be something for next year. I want to look for the common garden phlox. And so just a note on the edibility and use. When using phlox or any wild or garden flowers in cooking, it's crucial to confirm that the flowers are edible, and you don't want them treated with pesticides or other chemicals not approved for food crops. And so really, that the only kind I did find is the common garden phlox in what I was looking that are edible. And so I think that's what you really want to you don't want to be going and getting some of these hybrids, or, there's so many different kinds of phlox. I even have phlox out in my garden. But I don't know if they are. I don't know what kind they are. I think I got them from a seed trade. Now, the next flower, I've been looking at these. I have these flowers out in my garden, and there's just so many of them because I have a large crop of eggplants. And of course, because it's a seed crop, I have lots of these plants, and they have the most beautiful flowers on these guys. I think the variety is called Almaz or Almaz. I think it's a Russian heirloom eggplant. And I was thinking the one day as I was looking at all of these flowers on there, I wonder if they're edible. And again, I didn't think they were. I just thought, I'm going to look this up, but they're probably not. And they are. And so eggplant flowers are edible, and they can be used in various culinary applications similar to other edible flowers. And so they have a mild, slightly sweet flavor and a delicate texture. And they can add a unique touch to dishes, both in flavor and visual appeal. And so you could put them in salads for a pop of color and a mild flavor. You can use them as a garnish on dishes, including soups, pasta, and desserts. And eggplant flowers can be lightly battered and fried, similar to squash blossoms, and they can be stuffed with various fillings. But I mean, they're not that big. So again, I don't know, I don't know about that. I don't think I'd be taking the time, but they might be really good. And so the best time to harvest eggplant flowers is early in the morning when they are fully open and fresh. And you only want to pick flowers from healthy plants to avoid any potential contaminants. And I don't know what that's all about, because if you're picking them in your garden, why would they have any contaminants on them, or I guess this is if maybe you're out and about in someone else's garden, or who knows where you would be that you're finding eggplant flowers. And maybe that's just saying if they've been sprayed with something, if they're sick. So, you also always want to wash the flowers thoroughly before consuming them. And then, so some of the recipes that I found is there's the stuffed eggplant flowers, and you carefully open the flowers and remove the stamens. And then you can mix ricotta cheese with minced garlic, chopped herbs, salt, and pepper. Gently fill each flower with the cheese mixture and then twist the petals to close. Lightly saute in olive oil until the flowers are tender and the filling is warmed through. And I don't know, my eggplant flowers are a little bit too small for that. So, but then we have fried eggplant flowers, and this sounds delicious. You make a light batter by mixing flour, sparkling water, and a pinch of salt. Dip each flower into the batter and fry in hot oil until golden and crispy, and serve immediately with a dipping sauce of your choice. And then, of course, you can throw them in a salad, and you can make eggplant flower soup garnish. And you just you add fresh or lightly sautéed eggplant flowers on top of a bowl of creamy soup just before serving for a decorative and flavorful touch. And eggplant flowers are delicate, and they are best enjoyed fresh, but you could dry them if you wanted. And dried flowers can be used as a garnish or infused into oils and vinegar. And you could freeze them by laying them on a single layer and on a baking sheet and freezing them. And then you want to use the frozen flowers within a few months for best quality. And so the flavor differences among varieties, there's just a subtle difference. And traditional eggplant flowers have a mild, slightly sweet flavor with a hint of bitterness. The Japanese eggplant flowers are often smaller and have a more delicate flavor and are less bitter than traditional varieties. And the white eggplant, they can have a milder and slightly sweeter flavor compared to the purple varieties. And so now next is the Echinacea flowers. And the reason why I included this one today is I made a tincture with the whole plant today. Well, I couldn't fit all the stem in there, but I went and pulled one of my second year Echinacea plants and I put in a tincture. And so I added in the flowers. And so I was thinking about the flowers, and yes, they are edible. They're often used for their medicinal purposes rather than culinary applications. However, echinacea, well, the whole plant is edible. The flowers, leaves, and roots are all considered edible. But the petals can be used in salads or as a garnish, and the leaves can be brewed into tea. And so the flowers, the petals, have a slightly sweet and floral flavor, and it's widely known for its immune boosting properties and is commonly used in herbal teas, tinctures, to fight off colds and infections. And so you can sprinkle the echinacea petals over salads for a pop of color and a mild sweet flavor. And then the leaves and flowers and roots can be dried to make herbal tea. And we don't need the recipe on that. And also, echinacea can be infused with honey or vinegar to create flavorful and health-boosting condiments. And so for the honey infusion, you add fresh or dried echinacea petals to a jar of honey and let it infuse for a few weeks, and then you can use it to sweeten tea or in various dishes. And for the vinegar infusion, just add the echinacea petals to apple cider vinegar and let it steep for a few weeks. And then you can use the vinegar in salad dressings or marinades. And please excuse my dog. This is like the barking time of night. I'm not sure why. Her sister lives down the hill, and there's another dog down there, and sometimes all the dogs around here get into it. But much to some of the neighbors aren't too pleased about it. But I can't stop this now, so we're going to continue on with the barking in the background. And so that was Echinacea. And now the next one is Amaranth Flowers. And I thought about this one because I have a bunch of amaranth growing out, and I've been going out and self-pollinating some of the squash, and one of the varieties is like it's it's huge. It's just going so huge, and now it's in the amaranth patch. So I was looking at these flowers the other day, and I'm growing one variety this year called Red Garnet. And so, yes, the amaranth flowers are edible, and the plant as a whole is known for its nutritional benefits. And so, both the flowers and the leaves of the amaranth plants are edible. And the seeds are also highly nutritious and are commonly used in various culinary applications. And I've already done a podcast about amaranth. Um, and so if somebody would like to watch that, that is way back when. And it's I think a couple months ago, and it's with Uncle Dougie of BC Amaranth. And so now the flowers, which is what I'm really interested in today, they can be added into salads for color and mild flavor. They can be added as a garnish that will add a touch of elegance. And amaranth flowers can be dried and used to make herbal teas. They can also be infused in honey or vinegar. And so for the tea, you just steep a handful of dried amaranth flowers in hot water for 10 to 15 minutes, then strain and enjoy. And for the honey infusion, you add fresh or dried amaranth flowers to a jar of honey and let it infuse for a few weeks. And so that is that. I'm not going to get into the rest of the edibility. And now to preserve the amaranth flowers, this can be done by hanging them in a cool, dry place or using a dehydrator. You can spread the flowers out on a drying rack, and once they're dried, store them in an airtight container. And that's about it for preserving them. And so some of the precautions are that amaranth contains oxalates, which can be problematic for individuals with kidney issues or those prone to kidney stones. So it's best to consume them in moderation if you have these concerns. And as usual with any new food, you just want to try a small amount first to ensure you don't have any sort of allergic reaction. And amaranth flowers can be a colorful and nutritious addition to your diet, offering various culinary possibilities and health benefits. Now, some of the recipes I found are the amaranth flower salad, as you just throw them in your salad with the dressing and you serve it chilled. The amaranth flower tea. We went over, you can garnish the fresh amaranth flowers on desserts like cakes, cupcakes, or puddings. Sauteed amaranth greens with the flowers, and you saute minced garlic in olive oil until fragrant. Add amaranth leaves and flowers and saute until wilted. Season with salt, pepper, and a splash of lemon juice, and serve as a side dish. And of course, you can infuse the flowers into honey. And so I wanted to know about the flavor differences among varieties. And the red amaranth, the flavor is slightly earthy and nutty. And red amaranth has vibrant red leaves and flowers. That's what I'm growing this year. And then the green amaranth, I grew this last year. And so the flowers have a mild, slightly sweet flavor, and they have green leaves and flowers. And then there's the Love Lies Bleeding. And this is similar to other amaranth varieties, and they have a mild and slightly earthy taste. And they have long, cascading red or green flower clusters. And then there's Joseph's Coat, and the flavor is mild and slightly sweet. And they have multicolored leaves with vibrant red, yellow, and green hues. And now the next one, I don't really know this flower. Maybe if I saw it, I would know it, but it's the Meadowsweet. And these flowers are edible and have a long history use in both culinary and medicinal applications. And so the Meadowsweet flowers have a sweet almond-like aroma and flavor, and this makes them suitable for flavoring desserts and beverages. And just on a side note, traditionally it's been used for its anti-inflammatory and fever-reducing properties. I guess it's similar a little bit to the active ingredient in aspirin. Now, some of the uses is Meadowsweet syrup, and you combine equal parts of sugar to water in a saucepan and bring to a boil. Add a handful of Meadowsweet flowers and a splash of lemon juice. Simmer for 10 to 15 minutes, then strain and cool, and use the syrup to flavor beverages, desserts, or as a sweetener for tea. You can also make tea with fresh or dried Meadowsweet flowers, and you can add honey if you like. You can make Meadowsweet infused cream, and you gently heat heavy cream with Meadowsweet flowers until warm. Do not boil. Let it steep for 30 minutes, then strain. Sweeten with sugar and use the infused cream in desserts like panna cotta, ice cream, or whipped cream. You can make jelly by infusing apple juice with Meadowsweet flowers and simmer them together for 10 to 15 minutes. Strain the liquid and return it to the heat. Add sugar and pectin according to the pectin package instructions and bring to a boil. Then pour into sterilized jars and seal. And this jelly is perfect for spreading on toast or using in desserts. And then there is Meadowsweet lemonade. And make a simple syrup by boiling sugar and water. Then add Meadowsweet flowers and let steep. Mix the syrup with freshly squeezed lemon juice and water and serve chilled over ice for a refreshing drink. And so you can dry Meadowsweet flowers and just the usual way. And these dried flowers can be used for tea or infusions, and they can also be frozen by laying them on a single layer baking sheet and freezing them until solid, and then transferring to a freezer-safe bag or container. And just a note of precaution, you want to make sure that you have the correct identification of Meadowsweet before consumption, because some plants can look similar and may not be edible. And some people may be sensitive to some of the compounds in Meadowsweet. So if you have a known allergy to aspirin, you want to avoid consuming Meadowsweet. And as usual, always start with, moderation. And now the next flower is one that I'm starting to see everywhere. I'm sure everyone is seeing this also, but it's the chicory. And chicory is a versatile plant known for its edible leaves and roots, but its flowers are also edible and offer various culinary and medicinal benefits. And so chicory flowers have a slightly bitter taste, which is similar to the leaves, but they're milder. and they add a subtle bitterness and a touch of color to dishes. And chicory flowers, on a side note, are rich in vitamins and antioxidants, and they can support digestion and have anti-inflammatory properties. And so for the culinary uses, of course, you can throw them in flour, or you can throw them in salads. They can be used as garnishes for soups, stews, and main dishes, as their bright blue color adds visual appeal, while their mild bitterness enhances the flavor profile. You can infuse white wine vinegar with them and place fresh chicory flowers in a jar and cover with white wine vinegar. Let it infuse for a few weeks, then strain. And you can use the infused vinegar in dressings and marinades for its unique flavor. You can make an herbal tea by using fresh or dried chicory flowers, hot water, and honey. Steep a handful of fresh or dried chicory flowers for 10 to 15 minutes. Strain and sweeten with honey if desired. And chicory tea is known for its digestive benefits. You can also make a chicory flower syrup by combining equal parts of sugar and water in a saucepan and bring to a boil. Add a handful of chicory flowers and a splash of lemon juice. Simmer for 10 to 15 minutes, then strain and cool, and use the syrup to flavor beverages, desserts, or as a sweetener for tea. And so you can dry them by harvesting them and drying them in a cool, dark place with good airflow. And these dried flowers can be used for tea or infusions. And you can freeze them by laying them single layer on a baking sheet, freeze until solid, and then transfer to a freezer-safe bag or container. And so I wanted to know if there was flavor differences amongst the varieties, and chicory flowers from different varieties may have slight variations in bitterness, but overall the flavor is fairly consistent. And the main difference lies in the intensity of the bitterness and the color of the flowers, which range from bright blue to pale lavender. And so due to their bitter taste, chicory flowers are best used in moderation. And so, yeah, that is our flowers for today. I hope everybody is enjoying learning about all these edible flowers. I didn't. I just went back to my recording studio and I clicked in and I thought I hung up. I almost hit the leave button, but I'm going to wrap this up because it is getting late. And I hope everybody is enjoying their summer garden. I know we have gone from a heat wave. It was so hot the last at least 2 weeks. I think we were in it. The heat wave lasted so long. I think it affected my brain. It was just that hot. And now this evening I'm wearing wool again. I've got my wool long underwear under my sweatpants and a wool shirt on. It's cold. So kind of shocking that it can go from so hot to so cold so fast. But I will talk to you next week, and we still have a lot of edible flowers to get through. So I hope everybody is having a wonderful week, and we will talk with you soon. Thank you for joining me for this episode of In the Garden with Susan. I hope you're enjoying the Flower Power series. And as we look at all the different edible flowers, you can find this podcast and others at Spotify, Podchaser, Radio Public. It's on my Rumble channel. It's on my YouTube channel. And you can always find it at my website, at www.gardenfairybotanicals.ca. I look forward to chatting with you next week when we will continue on our journey through the edible flowers.